Being a grandparent is one of the most beautiful feelings in the world because you know that there is a tiny human who looks up to you and comes to you when they need help. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. Children are usually attached to their grandparents and share a heartwarming connection, but there might be exceptions. This story shows an unusual side of the wholesome relationship in question. Back in 2019, 70-year-old Liz and her daughter, Janine, appeared on the Dr. Phil show to share their story. Liz revealed how she called Janine, informing her that her landlord had increased the rent and she didn't have enough money to afford groceries with the increase in rent. After Janine hung up, she discussed her mother's problem with her husband Nathan, who immediately came up with a solution. He asked his wife to invite Liz to their house since they had a spare bedroom with its own bathroom. Nathan believed that family fights for family, but he never imagined that his mother-in-law would mistreat her grandchildren and cause a rift, making him regret his decision. Things took an unexpected turn after Liz moved into her daughter's house. After a few months, Janine and Nathan asked her to leave because she had called the police on their 6-year-old daughter. Liz said she asked the neighbors to call the cops because her 6-year-old granddaughter, who liked to play games on the grandmother's phone, wouldn't return her phone to her, and Janine wouldn't tell the little girl to give back the phone either. At this, Dr. Phil clarified, "You called the cops on a 6-year-old?" In her defense, Liz said she felt violated because Janine had snooped through the chats on her phone. She felt the police would help her get her phone back. Janine and Nathan were angry, knowing that Liz had talked to the mandated reporter. In response to the 911 call Liz asked her neighbor to make, the police arrived in no time, considering the matter an emergency. However, when the officer asked questions and found out what was happening, he said, "Have a nice day," and left. Ever since Liz moved in with her daughter, conflicts and arguments became a regular part of their lives. After she called the police on her granddaughter, Janine revealed what her children said, noting, "At this point, my children have all told me that they don't want to have a relationship with their grandmother." Before that incident, Liz had blamed her 2-year-old granddaughter for losing her cat. On Dr. Phil's show, Janine explained that Liz's cat had escaped the house one day when the children were going in and out through the front door. Her daughter had unknowingly scared the cat, which never returned. According to Nathan, his mother-in-law was terrible to his children because she mostly screamed at them. He often regretted his decision to invite her to live with them. Meanwhile, Janine confessed, "Having my mom live with us was a complete nightmare." Despite agreeing to clean the house and look after the children alongside paying rent when she moved in, Liz hardly cleaned. Instead, she complained that dishes were piling up in the sink and no one would clean the house for days. Sometimes the children would come to her complaining about bug bites. Liz blamed it on the cockroaches that were crawling all over the house. However, one last thing broke the camel's back. On Dr. Phil's show, Liz confessed she had talked to a mandated reporter and told them about everything, unintentionally alarming Child Protective Services. The following day, they showed up at their house, with Liz saying she was distraught and felt terrible for her grandchildren. She claimed she hadn't intended to call them. Janine and Nathan were furious, knowing that Liz had talked to the mandated reporter. After letting her live in their house for 5 months, the couple finally asked Liz to leave. Carrying a bag in her hand, Liz walked to the nearby motel after Janine and Nathan kicked her out of their house. 5 days later, she checked out because she couldn't afford to pay the room's rent and was forced to live out of her car for the next 4 months. She said, "They threw me out like a piece of trash." Every night, Liz would park her car outside a motel and sleep in the backseat of her car. During the day, she would spend most of her time at a local library after using the restroom at a coffee shop. Having limited funds, she could only afford to take a shower once a week at a truck stop for $1.12. From the beginning, Janine and Liz didn't get along well. As a child, Janine struggled to have a close relationship with her mother. She confessed, "I've never had a close relationship with her, and that's the hardest part. I never did, but I wanted to." Janine decided to write to Dr. Phil because she wanted to mend her relationship with her mother. She said she didn't want a stranger calling her to inform her that Liz was dead. After hearing both sides of the story, the host advised them to forget about the past and focus on rebuilding their relationship from scratch. Janine said it would take baby steps to mend their relationship, and the first step was Liz meeting her grandchildren after months. Social media users were undecided about who was in the wrong or how the situation could have been handled better. After viewing Janine's video on Facebook, someone noted that if they lived with one of their children, they'd help around the house happily. The viewer also confessed that they'd love being with their grandchildren. Someone else called all three nasty for allowing the house to get that bad. Another Facebook user defended Liz, asking how old Nathan and Janine's children were that they couldn't assist in the house, adding, "They were charging her to stay there too. She's not a housekeeper and babysitter." A viewer confessed that they could never kick their mother out of their house. They explained that it didn't matter what the parent did or said, they'd be there for her irrespectively. Who was at fault in this situation? Do you think the problem lies in older people and their married children living together?